Throwaway account. I'm 38M, married to my wife, 35F, for 10 years. No dramatic fights, no cheating rumors, just a quiet, predictable life. People describe us as solid. That word feels ironic now. The first thing that changed wasn't her behavior. It was mine. I started feeling anxious for no clear reason, like I was constantly one step behind something I couldn't see. She'd reassure me without being asked, which somehow made it worse. When someone keeps telling you everything is fine, you start wondering why they feel the need to say it out loud. She became obsessed with being perceived as the good partner, posting about me online, complimenting me in front of friends, talking about our future constantly. It felt performative. Meanwhile, at home, she was distant. Not cold, just absent. Conversation stayed surface level. Anytime I tried to talk about how disconnected I felt, she'd smile and say I was overthinking. She started calling me sensitive, then dramatic. I laughed it off, but the word stuck. I didn't know it then, but she was already shaping the story. Her as patient, me as unstable. The discovery wasn't a message this time. It was a calendar. We share one for bills and events. I noticed a recurring block labeled personal time. Always during hours, she said she was working late. Curious, I clicked it. Notes were attached. Addresses. Hotels. My stomach dropped. When I Googled one of the locations, my hands started shaking. It wasn't a spa. It wasn't a gym. It was a short-term rental. Dozens of dates. Months back. This wasn't impulsive. This was scheduled. Planned. I remember thinking, you don't plan something like this unless you're sure you won't be caught. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. That was the first twist. She looked relieved, said she was tired pretending. Then came the explanation. She said she felt invisible with me, that I stopped seeing her years ago. She cried, but the tears felt timed. When I asked why she never talked to me about it, she said I was emotionally unsafe. That phrase hit hard. Unsafe. I replayed our entire marriage in my head, wondering when I became someone to fear. She didn't look guilty. She looked prepared. Then she dropped the second twist. She said the affair had already ended, that she chose me, that I should be grateful she came back. When I didn't respond the way she expected, she got angry, said I was ruining our chance at healing, that holding her accountable was punishing her honesty. That night, she slept soundly. I lay awake realizing something terrifying. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was asking me to agree to a version of reality where her betrayal was proof of growth. And if I didn't accept that version, I was a problem. The next few days felt staged. She cooked. She laughed. She asked if I wanted to plan a weekend away to reconnect. When I brought the calendar again, she sighed and said I was stuck in the past. She reminded me she chose to stay, that I should focus on the future. Another twist came when I found out she'd already told her friends. Not the truth, a version. In it, she was lost and lonely. I was emotionally distant. The affair was a symptom, not a choice. I realized I was no longer just dealing with betrayal. I was dealing with reputation damage. I started noticing how carefully she spoke around others. Soft voice, sad smile, always mentioning how hard this period was for both of us. Privately, she was impatient and sharp. When I asked for space, she accused me of abandoning her. When I asked questions, she said I was interrogating her. Then came another twist. She suggested couples therapy, but only if we focus on moving forward, not the affair itself. No timelines, no details, no accountability. It hit me then. Therapy wasn't about healing. It was about neutralizing my reaction and fast-tracking forgiveness. One night, unable to sleep, I checked our shared email. I wasn't looking for proof. I already had that. I was looking for context. I found travel confirmations she'd archived, restaurants, events, plans made with care, with excitement, things she hadn't done with me in years. The realization hurt more than the sex. She hadn't just cheated, she'd invested. Time, energy, intention. When I showed her, she snapped, said I was invading her privacy again, said I was obsessed. That word came back, unstable. I started documenting everything, not out of revenge, but out of self-defense. The real shift happened when I stopped reacting. I answered calmly. I stopped explaining myself. That's when she panicked. She cried harder, got angrier, 1 minute begging me not to leave, the next accusing me of cruelty. She said I was punishing her by withholding reassurance. Another twist followed. She asked if we could keep this private forever, for our image, for our families, for her job. That was the moment it clicked. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid of consequences. And I was the last thing standing between her and them. I spoke to a lawyer, quietly. Didn't tell anyone else. Just needed to understand my options. When she found out, somehow, she exploded. Said I blindsided her. That she thought we were working on things. She accused me of betraying her trust. The irony was almost impressive. That night, I packed a bag and left. No speech. No ultimatum. Just silence. Sitting alone in a borrowed room, I finally felt something unexpected. Relief. Not because it was over, but because I no longer had to participate in a reality where I was required to disappear for her comfort. The days after I left were quiet in a way I hadn't felt in years. My phone stayed silent longer than I expected. When she did text, it was controlled, carefully worded messages about missing what we had, and hoping I wasn't making a mistake. No apologies, no accountability, just nostalgia and fear. Friends slowly reached out. A few admitted they'd heard things about me. Nothing specific, just hints that I'd been checked out for a long time. That stung, but it also confirmed something important. The story had been spreading long before the truth ever did. Therapy became less about the affair and more about me, about why I stayed calm when I should have pushed back, why I doubted myself so quickly. I learned how easily emotional manipulation hides behind calm language and good intentions. The hardest part wasn't anger. It was grief, not for the marriage as it was, but for the version of it I believed in. Letting go of that future felt like closing a door I'd been standing in front of for years. But once it closed, the noise stopped, and in that quiet, I finally heard myself think clearly again. The divorce process was slow and transactional. She tried to reframe things as mutual drift. I didn't argue. I stuck to facts. Dates. Documents. Silence became my strongest boundary. Outside of paperwork, I rebuilt my life in small ways. Cooking again, walking at night, reconnecting with people I'd neglected. Some days were heavy, others surprisingly light. I caught myself feeling hopeful, then guilty for feeling that way. But hope kept showing up anyway. That's when I realized healing isn't dramatic. It's repetitive. It's choosing yourself over and over until it starts to feel normal. Looking back, the affair wasn't the most damaging part. The rewriting of reality was. Being told your reaction to the problem while your trust is being broken quietly changes how you see yourself. I'm still unlearning that. But I know this now. Love doesn't require you to abandon your instincts. Accountability isn't cruelty. And forgiveness doesn't mean erasing what happened to make someone else comfortable. If someone asks you to minimize your pain so they can move on faster, they're not asking for healing. They're asking for permission. If you're reading this and something feels off in your relationship, pay attention, not to words, but to patterns, to how often you're told you're too sensitive for noticing real things. Leaving wasn't easy. Staying would have been worse. I didn't lose my marriage. I lost a version of reality that depended on my silence. What I gained was clarity, peace, and myself. And if you're standing where I once stood, wondering whether you're overreacting, trust me, you're probably just finally seeing things clearly.